my secret really is I tried different things. I'm not scared to spend a little money. And, when it hits, I'm always ahead of the curve. Nobody's doing it for about a year, and then everybody figures it out and copies me. And that's okay.
You're listening to the Legal Mastermind podcast with your hosts, Ryan Klein and Chase Williams, the go-to podcast for learning from the experts in the legal community about effective ways to grow and manage your law firm.
Today on the Legal Mastermind podcast, we have Ken Hardison, president of PILMMA. And for those of you that aren't familiar with PILMMA, they are a marketing and management resource dedicated to attorneys. I know you guys put out a ton of valuable information and put on some really great, amazing educational events for lawyers, ranging from conferences to webinars and mastermind groups.
Was a group every year, growing 10, 20% a year, just doing a lot of marketing, just yellow pages and a lot of grassroots stuff, networking and getting referrals, doing really good client service. And about 93, 94, I started seeing this level off. And I said, what's going on? I said, I'm doing a better job, getting better results. I've got better experience, and we're giving good client service. I said, what's the problem? And, a lot of TV lawyers were coming into town, and there were a lot of people branching out, and it was hurting us. I mean, just to be honest with you, our business kind of flatlined, and then 95, it actually went down 5%, and I just kind of lost it. So I had an aha moment was I went into court to try this DWI case for this client, and he comes walking in the courtroom on crutches, and I said, what happened, Joe? He said, I got T-boned by a semi. I said, well, we handled those cases. He said, yeah, but I saw this guy on TV, and I figured he must be good, so I hired him. And the guy was really a great marketer because he was all over TV, but he had never tried a case in his life. And I tried like 150 jury trials and probably 500 non-jury trials. And I tried this case, and we won it. And I go back to the office. I sit down with my partners. I said, we got to change with the times. And they said, well, no, we're not marketing. I said, we got to do stuff. They said, no, it's unprofessional. We're not going to do it. We're not going to be a part of it. So we had this conversation about 6 months, year. I finally just left. And I took one associate and 2 or 3 staff. And I got a few cases to go with. We worked out a deal. It was amicable. Worked out what was fair. And I went out, and I didn't know anything about marketing other than just good client service. So I started going to all these events. We're talking about events. So I went to Dan Kennedy's stuff. I went to any marketing event, but back then, and this was in the mid-90s, there was nothing about legal marketing. I mean, not really, not for consumer-based lawyers. I mean, it might be for the AM firms, the big, what I call transactional lawyers, the Wall Street lawyers. And so I started trying stuff, and then I finally took the leap, and I went out and took everything I owned and put it up as collateral to get a loan, line of credit. And I went on TV. I went from signing up 20 cases to 120 cases a month, like in 90 days. And believe it or not, I almost went bankrupt because I grew too damn fast, and I didn't have the infrastructure. And, we weren't doing that. We were complaining. And so we had to regroup. And we had to stop it for like 60 days. And I read this book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, which was another aha moment. And I hired this girl that was really good on processes, procedures. We systematized everything, had new training modules. We did everything. We actually created a university, a Hardison, an associate's university, all this stuff. It just took off, man. And in 5 years, I went from me and another lawyer and 3 staff to 13 lawyers and like 50 staff. And I mean, we were killing it. And we were doing not just TV, but we were doing everything. We got on the internet. We were doing educational based. We had like 7 consumer books I wrote. We did 32 different things. We had 32 points that we were doing marketing. And some of it cost nothing. And some of it was like TV that I was spending $60,000, $70,000 a month. I was like in Yellow Pages, I was spending like $600,000, $700,000 a year. Except in 2005, then I went to 30,000, and everybody went crazy. What are you doing? But I was tracking, and the cost per case went from like $500 to $2,500 over about a 3-year period. And I just cut it out. I put that money in TV and internet. Hell, we even grew more. When I did it, it was looked at as crazy, but the numbers don't lie, And so I built it up, and then I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I got bored, and I sold it out to my partner in 2010 and started PILMMA. And then moved down to Myrtle Beach because I love to play golf and fish. And it was within 2 hours of my mother, too, and I wanted to be near her because family's important to me. But I had this lawyer one time at one of these conferences says, yeah, but you went out and got $500,000. I said, I can't do that. I said, well, how much could you spend a month? He said, I could spend $6,000. And so I went back and I said, I'm going to challenge. I said, I'll take that as a challenge. I went and started a Social Security practice because I didn't have to have a license in South Carolina. And I spent $6,000 a month. And I built it up to 600 and something cases in like 2 years. And then I sold it because I looked at the metrics and the margins are so low in Social Security. They're like 30%, whereas PI is 35%. I sold it, but I proved my point that you can do it, but you just got to use more grassroots type of marketing. But I did do some TV the last year, but it was only 30-minute infomercials with my book, which was another great innovation that I stumbled on. And most of the stuff I do, I stumble on it. I do something and then something happens and I say, well, if I took that and did this, like I was on this guy, he had this talk TV show that you come in and he let lawyers come in, and every Thursday down here it's called Legal Talk or whatever. And he let me come in and talk about Social Security. He had another person and I had my book. And I said, you want my disability secrets revealed? I said, if you want this book, just call this number. I didn't have it on the thing or anything. The time I got back to office, the girl said, what the hell did you do? We said, we got 83 calls in the last hour. Want my book? And then we did an infomercial, and we were getting cases for like $200 a piece, which is really good for Social Security. And that was like 5 years ago. The average fee is around $3,000, so that's like 15 times. And my big deal is anything I invest in, I want a 6-to-1 return. I've seen lawyers talk about, well, I spent $30,000 and I made $90,000. She said, that's great. I say, that sucks. I mean, if I can't have at least 6-to-1, I either got to tweak it or dump it. And I really want a lot more, but that's like my threshold of survival. So, it's like when I went in the internet, I was getting like 22-to-1 returns on my investment. I mean, it was just crazy. I was getting PI cases for $300 or $400, which you can't do now. So that's my long-winded story, Chase.
I love it. It sounds like you figured out all these amazing tactics that these like pseudo entrepreneur trainers are regurgitating now. But like back in the day, you found this out yourself. Yeah,
and let me tell you, I'm just telling you about the successes. For every success, I probably had 5 failures that I learned what didn't work too. Okay, so I tried a lot of stuff that didn't work too. But the deal was, that's one reason I created PILMMA, because there was nobody out there really showing you what to do. Your competitors sure as hell are not going to tell you, because they're going to tell you just the opposite, because they don't want you to beat them, right? It's a game, and there's a winner and there's a loser. So I just started giving out, and then my old law partner said, you just give away way too much information. But the deal is, I said, listen, here's the deal, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth. 90 to 95% of people will never do this stuff. I could tell them, I could give them a blueprint, and they won't do it because they're too busy. They're not committed. They don't have focus. They don't have discipline. And that is the secret to success. I mean, you got to have focus and discipline and commitment. Listen, I'm not the sharpest pencil in the room. I'm not. I think I'm smarter than the average Joe on marketing. But the deal is, I am just really committed. We had a speaker at one of our conferences talking about grit, that they did these studies, and there's a book out on it. And I can't remember the speaker now. The smartest people were not the most successful people. The most successful people were the people that had grit, perseverance, that did never give up. And they're committed and they're focused, and they just won't take no for an answer, and they just plow through it. They never accept defeat. And I think that was my key. It has been in everything I've ever done, is because, like I said, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm not a dummy. My secret really is I try different things. I'm not scared to spend a little money. And, when it hits, I'm always ahead of the curve. Nobody's doing it. And that for about a year, and then everybody figures it out and copies me. And that's okay. That's okay. That's fine. I'll find something else too, I'm good with that. I don't worry about it.
I love your comment on failure, because me and Ryan, we're always trying new tactics and new approaches, and we fail, honestly, probably more than we succeed with things. But when we succeed, it pays off. And
yes, big, man. Big.
I got to pass off to Ryan, because I know he wants to talk about I saw him jump up in the back when you mentioned
only a few things. Yeah, I would say that our failure rate is maybe 10-1, but that's okay because all it takes is one successful campaign to make all the difference. And E-Myth, I just wanted to pop this. That's a good one. And the original. So it's very evident that through your own perseverance and focus that you've built a lot of great things. And it's great that you're able to take that passion to go ahead and create PILMMA. And PILMMA has been disseminating fantastic information for quite some time. I've seen your speakers, your conferences, webinars, blogs, even newsletters and emails. It's just always on point information. So I think where I wanted to kind of go with this conversation a little bit is that all these mediums have been fantastic for educating lawyers and how they can take their marketing to another level, evaluating it, seeing the value in it especially. And a lot of ways that people get this information and stay on top of the trends is by attending conferences, networking, and doing a lot of face-to-face learning from other people's experiences. So, things are different right now, and we might not be going to conferences for hopefully not too much longer, but it could still be, 4, 5, 6 months, and it has been several months already. So where's kind of the direction of how lawyers are kind of staying on top of things now if they're not attending conferences specifically?
Yeah. Well, let me say this, preface this. This is another big key to me, and I think for successful people, what I've noticed, there's certain habits and traits. If you really want to be successful, you got to be a continual learner. And what I mean by that is you can never think you know it all, and you will. I always say I learn something new every day. And a lot of our members teach me stuff every day. So continual learning is very important to success. You're in trouble when you think that you figured it out, because you never figure it out completely, because it's changing. I mean, what you guys do with the internet, man, and the SEO, that's stuff's like trying to paint a moving train. It changes so damn much. I don't know how you do it. That's the one thing I'll say that probably I don't even try to keep up with all that. I just listen to you experts, because there's just no way. I mean, it moves too fast for this old man. But getting back, so what we did at PILMMA, I can tell you what I've seen, what I think is going to happen, and what's happening. What we're doing is like this immediately when this COVID hit, I saw this as an opportunity, not as a whoa, well, we're going under. I looked at it as an opportunity to really help lawyers, because I knew they were all freaking out. So we started having these webinar series that was free to anybody. And we talked about how to go remote, how to manage people remotely, how you need to keep the communications using the Rockefeller habits with daily huddles, weekly meetings, and how to use Zoom. And so we did all that, and we're continuing. In fact, we got one next week. We're doing on PPP loans, how to get the forgiveness. We had one how to get the PPP loans before that, and then we're going to have another one 2 weeks away about how to come back in to your office. So they're all done on Zoom. And then another thing I did was my members, I just started doing, I got like 5 different masterminds, different levels of lawyers across the country and actually in Canada and Australia. We just I do a weekly Zoom meeting with them, and we just sit there and talk about it. And they loved it, because most of the time it's hard to get a lawyer on anything because they're so busy working in their business and not on their business. But just being at home, man, and they're isolated, they welcome the chance to get to talk to other lawyers and talk about challenges they were having and what was going good and what was going bad. And it was like a little community, and everybody was, my calls are down 80%, and John, his phone, And I kind of pushed it that this was a time to catch up and clean up, and not be sitting there saying, woe is me, but what can we do? And I talk about pivoting a lot. And a lot of them are doing these things. They're writing books, they're doing videos, they're working on different things that they hadn't had time to focus on, and they've learned that, hey, listen, this remote's not so bad. I had one lawyer yesterday in one of our meetings said, I don't want to go back to the office. He says, I get twice as much done. He says, I really just don't want to go back to the office. I said, well, you don't have to. He said, well, I said, you don't have to. I said, you got an office manager? He said, yeah. I said, you just go in half a day a week. I said, why are you going to let the law firm dictate what you do? It's your business. You make it work for you. I said, if you like working at home, do it. That's what I do with PILMMA. We used to have offices and all that. We're completely virtual now. I've got a graphic artist in Wyoming. I got a marketing director in Connecticut. I got my CO in North Carolina. I live in South Carolina. I had a guy doing blogs in London. It don't matter. And really what I'm telling them is that this is actually this opens up your pool, because another biggest problem I see lawyers have with management is they can't find really good people, and motivate them and keep them. And this way, instead of having your little town or your little city be the only marketplace you can go to get help, get paralegals or case managers or lawyers, well, now you can go nationwide. Why not? I mean, you got to have some people in the office, because you got lawyers especially, but staff, I think you can go anywhere. But what I think you'll see is more and more virtual. This thing with Zoom has changed it's made lawyers learn to use this technology that probably wouldn't have used it before. And we just did an internet boot camp about, I guess, 3 weeks ago. And do we have some problems? Yeah, but it went off without a hitch. I mean, we had a few technical issues, but it went well. Everybody loved it. I was worried people would just not show up and have interest, but they did. They were engaged. They're sitting at home anyway. So I think for right now, that's what you're going to see. We're planning at least one more virtual event. And like my mastermind meetings, I'm having to do them virtual, because people are just not feeling good enough to get in a plane and fly like we were supposed to have in Seattle, and one up in believe it or not, up in Teaneck, New Jersey, which is the epicenter. And we just decided we're going to do them with Zoom meetings, and they'll work. Are they as effective far as the networking? Probably not quite, but real damn close. I mean, really close. And with this Zoom, you can go into breakout rooms and all this technology. It's just crazy what you can do. But I still like the live conferences, because you get to meet so many people, and it's just not. Here's why I like to go to conferences. I go to a lot of conferences. Is I like to go see all the vendors and see what's new, and talk to them and pick their brains. I like to see what's new, what's the latest and greatest. But then again, I like to talk to all these other lawyers and pick their brains and see what they're doing, and make alliances and make friendships, because it's all about relationships, right? And then you're sitting there, and if a speaker, you can corner him up after the deal if you really want to pick his brain even harder. And most of the time you can do it, not every time. Some of the big time speakers, they won't take time for you. But what I found at PILMMA, 95% of our guys stick around, and the ladies stick around even after they get off stage, and they'll mingle, and they'll go to our social events. We have receptions, we have a mastermind reception, a regular receptions, and do some fun stuff. Listen, I wouldn't be where I want if I didn't go to a bunch of conferences at the beginning, because I didn't know anything, And here's the other big deal. Mentor of mine said, you don't know what you don't know. And it might be something that you could be doing that you hadn't even thought about, because you don't know to even ask. And you could go to one of these conferences, whether it be virtual or live, and see somebody talking about stuff, and then see somebody up ask a question, and then whammo, you've learned it. I mean, I have these calls all the time where our members call in, and I see how many people on the calls, and 80% of people never ask their question, but they're sitting there listening and they're learning. And I think, of course, my deal, I keep telling everybody, there's no such thing as a stupid question, only stupid people that don't ask questions. I ask questions. When I was in law school, everybody looked at me because I asked questions consistently, and they said, man, why you always ask? I said, unlike you, my dad didn't pay for this. I paid for this. I got a family because I was married and had children when I was in law school. I said, I've got to learn this stuff, and I'm paying for it. And I want my money's worth. And so you guys, you're thinking it, but your ego won't get in the way. I said, not me. I said, I'm paying for that. I work hard, and then I'm borrowing money, and I want to know what I don't know, so that when I go out, I can be successful. So that's my take on the deals. I think you're going to see a lot more virtual events. We just went to, believe it or not, I had me and my COO and my marketing director, we went to a virtual event on virtual events. And so they're teaching us how. Yes, it was a 3-day virtual event. It was last Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it was all about how you put these on, how you make them more engaging, how you get people involved in it, how you keep people on them, how do they get the value out of it? Because the first thing is you got to give value. I mean, you got to. My big deal is every conference I've ever done in my life, I always give a money back guarantee after the first day. And I'm real proud of the fact that nobody's asked for the money back. But when we do the live ones, I take my checkbook. And I do that plus give them $500 of documented travel expense, because I want them to know that if they're not getting that my heart's in it to give like 10 to 20 times value of what they paid. And my deal is, I tell our staff, if we can't give 10 times value of what they paid, then we're not doing our job. And that's why we pump out so much content and information, because that's what people want, right? They want value. I mean, if you pay for something and you get 10 times the value out of it, then you feel pretty satisfied. You're going to come back and you're going to tell your friends. That's my thoughts on it anyway. I might be wrong, but that's the way I feel about it.
It had me thinking, was there ever an in-person meeting or in-person conference about doing in-person conferences? You said the virtual one.
Yeah.
But
there's actually experts out there. I don't know. I've been to a conference, but we did actually go to a conference on how to retain members. It's called a retention conference on these subscription services, which PILMMA is a subscription service. You pay a monthly fee, and you had Fortune 500 companies there, and we were there, small as we were, but they all had the same problems, keeping people engaged and giving value to where they don't cut off, whether it be a magazine subscription or a club membership or something like this, like, it could be the AAJ, the ABA. They all have retention problems, and you're always looking at how can we keep people from quitting. And it don't matter whether it's a price tag of $300 a year or $3,000 a month. Everyone has those problems, which brings up another idea. I always wonder why some of these lawyers, especially in certain areas, like employment lawyers or whatever, why don't you just set up a subscription service and pay me, $1,500 a month and I'm on call, almost like something to where you couldn't do it for PI. I don't think you can do it for criminal, but for businesses or estate planning or employment law, things like that. That would be, if I had that, that's the way I would do my business. I set it up all on a subscription service, and that way they had me, and they didn't have to worry about having a big legal fee, because they're kind of paying it out over time.
I've seen a couple doctors in my area trying to start that model.
Yeah, I think it's a smart model. There's nothing like recurring revenue. I mean, you think about SEO companies. You guys got an SEO company. Y'all got recurring income. Then you can plan, and you can plan your growth. You can plan how many people you need to hire. It's actually a smart business model, I think. I've always loved it. I mean, even though I did, it's either going to be that or contingency, because I've always been terrible about keeping my hours and sending bills and pushing people to pay me. I hate collecting money from people. That's one of the reasons I went solely into, when I left, I went solely PI, workers' comp disability, because it's all contingency. I didn't ever have to send anybody a bill. I got my money when they got their money. I love that. No performance, no pay. That's good with me.
I know that's a model that a lot of businesses want to participate in for mostly obvious reasons. So with the virtual conferences that are going on, I'm starting to see that pop up. Of course, like anything else, there's pros and cons. There's no substitute really for human interaction. Of course, the networking aspect is huge. Picking the brains of other people. I'm definitely in the camp that no matter who anyone is and what they're doing or what their status is in life, you can always learn at least one thing from somebody. And that's certainly the case. Networking, you're always going to get some perspective or get an idea from pretty much every single person you talk to. And of course, all those fantastic legal conference receptions with Top Shelf and shrimp cocktail.
Oh yeah,
it's always a good time. They always try to one up and flash mobs back in the lawyer-nomics days. But there are pros to the virtual approach. Of course, you're in the comfort of your own home. I know a lot of people still can't avoid feeling like they're in a lecture hall or they're back to school or anything. They get fidgety. They want to get up. They don't want to be rude about going out. They don't want to ask a question in front of everyone. So pros and cons there. Definitely looking forward to seeing what people put out there. And of course, there's webinars too, as you mentioned, which a lot of times they're free. And those are huge when it comes to information, almost like information overload sometimes, Q&As at the end. So there's plenty of options out there for staying on top of things as a lawyer in regards to marketing and law firm development.
We put on 2 webinars a month free. And then I do a lot of other stuff just for the members. But yeah.
How many touch points do you have now for marketing? And you mentioned back in the day you had like 31 different touch points for the law firm. How many touch points do you have for PILMMA?
I hadn't counted for PILMMA. I mean, it's not as many as it was back then. But see, like we don't do TV, we don't do radio, we don't do billboards. What we're doing with PILMMA, what I found is, believe it or not, Facebook ads, stuff like podcasts, like what I'm doing with you, that helps. Putting on the webinars seem to help a lot. Direct mail. I hadn't counted it up, to be honest with you. That's something I got to do. Thank you. Now, when I get off of this, I'm going to go figure it out. But we had a big problem to start with because I'll be honest with you, the lawyers, I had a hard time getting testimonials, not because we weren't good, but because they didn't want competition to know about us. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, you know? And we used to be just really solely on personal injury and you know, disability and work. Now we spread it out to domestic criminal. So now I'm getting a little bit more referrals from members to people that are not competing with them, but they just wouldn't refer. I mean, I had one guy said, Ken, I love you. And listen, you know, when I joined, I had 5 lawyers and I got 25 now. And listen, and I owe it all to you, but here, I'm not getting up there and saying this is the reason because I don't want my competition to know about you. Just let's be that honest. I said, that's fair. I mean, you know, but, and then I did tell him, I said, but you know, 95% of them aren't going to do anything. He said, yeah, but that 5%. He said, I'm worried about that 5%. I said, okay. So that's been a thing that's been a challenge we've had to overcome. And I understand it. I know all our members are like that. Some of them will say, hey, I don't care because, hey, they're not going to do it anyway. And if they do that, I'll figure out something else. They're more entrepreneurs, you know, sort of like me. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. Just not going to worry about it. You know, there's enough business out there for everybody. I really believe that.
For those of our listeners that aren't familiar with PILMMA, you can go to the website. It's PILMMA.org. And Ken, is there anything else that you want to leave our listeners with?
No, other than at this time, I think I know some of your businesses are really down and some of you are doing okay and some of you are worried about the future because the calls have been down in the last 3 or 4 months. But like I said, I think this is a time to pivot and catch up and clean up and really work on everything, get it ready for when this thing lifts up completely so that you can hit the road with both wheels burning. You know what I mean? 120 miles an hour. Because sitting around feeling sorry for yourself is not going to get it done, you know, or you know, just freaking out. I really think the deal is to, you know, take the bull by the horns and let's go with this thing. I mean, you know, and if you got to go to a different practice area, then so be it. I mean, you know, whatever it takes, just think outside the box. And, you know, and if you need to talk, I mean, you can contact PILMMA and I'll give you a 15-minute free consultation. I mean, you know, give you my ideas. 15 minutes top though, because I usually charge like $1,500 an hour, but at this time with all this stuff going on, I just kind of quit charging people, and I'm just trying to give out free advice, kind of like my give back. You know, some people are giving to the firemen and some to the nurses. I'm just trying to give back to the lawyers now. So because I know some of them, I've talked to some of them are having a really hard time, and some of them aren't. Some of them, they're worried about it 6 months because they're on a contingency base and they're not going to have the money flow in 6 to 18 months, and they're worried about that. So. But that's the words I leave with.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Legal Mastermind podcast. If you're interested in working with Ryan and Chase, please email mastermind@marketmymarket.com. Make sure to join the free mastermind group for growing and managing your firm at lawfirmmastermind.com. Ryan Klein and Chase Williams are the managing partners at Market My Market, one of the top legal marketing companies in the United States.